Hospitality Meets is brought to you by RotaCloud, the simple workforce management software for hospitality teams. RotaCloud lets you create and share rotas, record attendance, and manage your team's annual leave, all in less time than it takes to make a brew. It can also make life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request holiday, and even pick up extra shifts, all through the RotaCloud mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be. Running a hospitality business means juggling endless payments from suppliers to staff, all while keeping cash flow in check. That's where Apron helps. With Apron Bill Pay, you can manage every supplier payment in one place, approve and schedule bills, and think automatically with Xero or QuickBooks. And with the Apron card, your team can spend easily while you stay in control and earn rewards on every purchase. Learn more at getapron.com. Welcome to Hospitality Meets with me, Phil Street, where each week we take a light-hearted look into the stories and individuals that make up the wonderful world of hospitality. Today's guest is Gemma McFall, former hospitality people leader and now chronic pain recovery coach. Coming up on today's show, Gemma plays rugby at work.
Within the first hour of being on shift, a rugby player knocked into me and 6 bowls of soup went all over my beautiful white shirt.
Phil sets up the chat. That's maybe the hookiest hook we've ever had on this podcast. And Gemma gives us the wisdom you can expect from this chat.
As soon as you learn about chronic pain and the real reason for most of it, you can't unlearn it.
All that and so much more as we chat through Gemma's story and how she's ended up changing people's lives through chronic pain recovery. It's not our usual style of chat, but by crikey, there's so much to take away here, so I hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome to a special episode of Hospitality Meets today. Now, this is kind of, what was the old saying in that game show, now for something completely different, I think. Might be a little bit different, but actually today's guest has actually got her roots firmly within hospitality as well. So I'm just going to get to this and welcome to the show, Gemma McFall.
Oh, thank you for having me, Phil. I'm very excited to be here. You know how much I love hospitality people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just have to kind of maybe fill in a little story as to how we got connected in the first place, which was my random post on LinkedIn about not where I can help it. I've spoken about this on this podcast before, but I have a spinal condition, and where possible, I have good days and bad days, but where possible, I don't try to mask when I'm experiencing a bad day with painkillers and things like that. It's important to me that I acknowledge that there is something going on and we try to address that rather than shield it, as it were. And you commented on my post, and that led us to spending some time virtually together. And everything that you had to say, I thought to myself, yeah, I think people need to hear this.
I think everyone needs to hear this, Phil. Yeah, it's the topic of chronic pain affects so many people globally. It's ridiculous. And yeah, and it's one of these things, as soon as you learn about chronic pain and the real reason for most of it, you can't unlearn it. You can't not see it anymore. So yeah, it's a message that needs to be shared. For sure.
That's maybe the hookiest hook we've ever had on this podcast within 2 minutes of recording. But we'll absolutely get onto that in the fullness of time. What I would really love to do is, as I alluded to at the beginning, is that you do have your roots in hospitality. But just to kind of tell us your journey, actually, before we do that, you should probably tell the world what it is that you actually do. That's maybe a better start.
Yeah, so I am a chronic pain recovery coach.
Right.
In summary.
Yeah. And up until you posted on my LinkedIn post, I did not even know that was a thing.
Yeah. It is a thing, and well, I made up the title, to be honest. For a long time I was like, I'm a pain coach, and people would be like, what's a pain coach? So that didn't work. Then I was like, I'm a pain recovery coach, but I'm not acute pain, I'm only chronic pain. So the titles got longer and longer depending on what network I'm networking with. So that's what I settled on in the end.
Very good. Yeah, I suppose if you were just a pain coach, that means you're coaching people into pain.
Yeah, it didn't sound great, so no. I switched.
Yeah. Very good. Right. Well, let's go back to your journey into how you arrived into this world, because the story in itself is actually, I think, has massive merit in why we should all be paying attention to this.
Yes. When should we go from? Age 14?
Yeah, well, take us all the
I'm
way,
thinking, what,
because you are a
what,
hospitality person at heart. So, how did you get into the
yeah.
industry in the first place? What was the driver behind that?
When I was 14, I worked in a golf club, and the very first people I served was Leicester Tigers rugby team. That was
Right.
first day on the job,
Welcome to the
and I
industry.
got. I know, yeah. And within the first hour of being on shift, a rugby player knocked into me, and 6 bowls of soup went all over my beautiful white shirt. So that was
Great.
my intro to the industry, which was great. And from there, I just fell in love with the industry, and I went through hospitality college and university. I studied hospitality and human resources, and when I popped out the other end of university, I actually went to work at Disney World for a year in Florida, which was probably the best year of my life ever.
I say that sounds like an
And
experience.
that really was. It was incredible. And I thought, if I'm going to work in the hospitality industry, I'm going to learn from the best, from a service culture point of view. So it was
Yeah.
very, very intentional. I didn't want to have a wasted gap year, so I thought that was a good use of my time. And on the back of that, I moved to London and went straight into HR, working for Park Plaza Hotels. And then I did the opening of Park Plaza County Hall, which is where I met my husband, who's also a hotelier.
Right.
And yeah, and so I
Keep it in the
spent
family.
exactly. But I think this is kind of where the story really starts, because I was only 26, 27, doing a hotel opening as head of HR for the hotel. It was a
Mm.
very young age to have such a big job, but I didn't realize that I don't know what the word is. I didn't feel stressed in any way, shape, or form. I was young. I had lots of energy and drive. We had a great team, and in the olden days in London hospitality, you work all day. It's a pre-opening. Many times we would actually stay over in the hotel because it's not yet opened, and we'd go out drinking and then repeat it all the next day. And this was the lifestyle, very much on. And from there, oh, and then an interesting point here, I won the Hospitality Rising Star Award. And
Okay.
none of which, not to brag here, there's a reason I'm saying this.
Yeah, yeah.
On the night of the awards, I none of my exec team could come with me because they were all off doing a sales event. So I ended up sitting on the table with the National Skills Academy, which was one of these government bodies at the time. Got chatting to the CEO of that, and then ended up moving over and working with him for about 18 months, which was a home-based job, which, as you can imagine, for a hotelier to go from being with that many people, that service focused, to suddenly sit in a crappy apartment in Battersea on my own in a small organization, like I didn't know what hit me. It was way before home working was so attractive. I felt like I was the only person sitting at home working with no friends, with no team, with no anything. And very quickly I started to get neck pain. I was sitting on one of these gym balls, to work, thinking that would help. I got really good abs during this time because of the ball, um,
Top
and
tip.
then
Well, probably not,
yeah, exactly.
given where
No,
we're going
don't
next, but
don't don't
no.
don't do it. Don't do it. Oh my goodness. But I didn't really question it. I just kept pushing through and thinking, this will go, this will go. And then we got an opportunity with my husband's job to move to Dubai. So he moved out here with Accor, and I obviously followed him. And within a few weeks of being in Dubai, I started to get back pain, just like a twinge. Actually, it was on the back of kind of a stupid dance move I did in London just before we left. And so I started working in Fairmont in HR. And this back pain, it was bothering me, but not enough to go, I have chronic pain. It was just a twinge here and there. And I was sneaking out of work for physio and osteopath treatments and this, that, and the other. And sometimes it would get better and then it would get worse. And if we I'm not going to bore you with the 10 years of from then to then, but during the next 10 years, it got worse and worse and worse, but so gradually that I hardly it's not that I hardly noticed, but I just gradually stopped doing stuff. Like I got rid of all my high shoes, had a fancy chair to sit on, changed the mattress, changed the pillow. I had everything all lined up at the right height, so I never needed to bend. I used to wear one of these support things. I don't know what you call it. It's like a corset. I used to walk around with a
Brace.
corset underneath my brace, yeah, underneath my suit, you know. And
Wow.
then yeah, it was ridiculous. And still, I wouldn't have considered I had chronic pain. I just kept thinking, oh no, this will go. One more osteopath session and it will go. I remember like sneaking out to the training room, which was right next to my office, to lie on the floor with the door locked, just to decompress my spine, to get the relief, so that I could go back and carry on working.
Yeah.
Um,
God.
yeah, it was a really rubbish time. Anyway, we then moved from Dubai to Sri Lanka in 2017. Again with Chris's job, he went there to do the opening of Shangri-La, which was a great
Nice.
move for us. And for the first time, yeah, it was really amazing to do such an unusual posting. And it was the first time ever that I was moving without a job, since I'd always worked since I was like 14. And I found myself in a country with no friends, no support, two little kids at this point. They were 18 months apart. I think Chloe was 6 months, Max was just over one. And I couldn't even lift them up. I couldn't pick them up from the floor to put them in a high chair or anything. I was really struggling. I was getting injections in my spine, and the pain, it was just insane. I couldn't sit in an aeroplane seat. I couldn't sit in a chair. I couldn't do anything. And yeah, and so this is rock bottom. And this is why and how I now do what I do. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. I suppose that has its roots in that, maybe that principle of, if you keep doing well, that's a definition of insanity, right? You keep doing the same things and expecting to get a better result, then you're basically insane, as they would say.
Yeah.
But so is that what you mean by rock bottom? You'd kind of gotten to a point where you go, something has to change now, because this is just, we're not making any improvement, and I just got to go on a journey to discover what's actually going on.
Yeah, yes. I mean, yes. I was at that time studying to be a coach, and I was on the for anyone that studied to be a coach will understand what I mean. But we were doing peer coaching, so I was a client of somebody that was practicing coaching, and she said, "What do you want to be coached on?" And I said, "I want someone to cut my back off. I can't live like this anymore. It's
Wow.
ridiculous." So this, yeah, it was anyway, this girl tried to coach me on a public call in front of all the other students. And then at the end of the call, the teacher, the coaching teacher, he said, "You've got to check out the science behind pain. I need you to understand the concept of pain. No pressure, but, if you're interested." And I just knew that I had to read this book that it suggested. And within the first 2 or 3 pages, I knew it. Like, same like when we had the call, I was explaining to you that the science makes so much sense, and I'd been on the wrong path for 10 years, and I was so angry that I was getting all this. I was on so much medication, so many interventions. I'd stopped living, completely stopped living. And and yeah, so from that point of understanding where the pain was coming from and why, it only took me a few months to bounce back and actually start living again, and getting I had no pain. So
Wow.
yeah.
God, yeah. I mean, that's a hell of a turnaround. 2 to 3 months after 10+ years of, effectively limiting your enjoyment of life through the pain that you were experiencing. There's
Mm.
a couple of things to unpack within that. Obviously, we're going to talk more about the science in a second, but in actual fact, this is maybe one of the reasons why we shared a moment when I wrote that post, was because that medication is, and I am not a doctor, so I'm not about to make any recommendations here, but I think a lot of the time it does feel like medication is thrown at the problem without really knowing what the problem truly is. And I've definitely been experienced that personally as well. And it's you need sometimes to break out of what we might classify as the system of things in order to open your eyes, I suppose, and your mind into other possibilities that actually, it's the old insanity thing again. What's being prescribed to me is not working, so why should I persist? We need to find a different method.
Yeah. Although, I'm not stupid, right? Like I had a good job. I'm pretty smart, but you don't know what you don't know. So I was just trusting the doctors. I was just blindly going along, doing what they told me to do. And when that didn't work, it would be escalated and I'd do something else. So it's the not knowing is the hard part.
Yeah. So this book that changed your world.
Yes.
What was the name of the book?
The book was called Healing Back Pain by John Sarno. However, as much as I love this book, since it was written, the science has moved on significantly further than when that book was written. So it's not necessarily a book I would recommend now, but I
Right.
will be forever grateful for this particular doctor. He was a doctor that he had a lot of patients that were coming in for spinal issues, and he realized that his methods were not working. And so he just started talking to the patients and very quickly started to see the commonalities between all the people that had chronic pain. And that's when he kind of solved the puzzle, I guess, of chronic pain.
Right. And so what were those commonalities that he was finding out at that time?
So he realized that, well, it might be easier if I kind of explain what pain is or what he discovered it to be. So pain is a warning sign that's trying to tell us something. So, for me, it was don't bend down to the dishwasher because it's dangerous. Because if you do that, you're going to make your back pain worse. And so I learned reaching to the back shelf of the dishwasher, it's dangerous. So every time I got to that point, the pain, I get like electricity shooting up my back. It was that bad. But pain becomes a learned response. So the more times you feel pain, the more likely you are to get it. It's like predictive coding. And what he realized was there were certain personality types that are far more likely to get chronic pain. Perfectionists, people pleasers, high achievers, people who are super responsible, analytical people, overthinkers. It's basically all the personality types that are
Sorry, I'm
that
making a face
create.
because you've just
Yeah.
described a few personality traits within my own belief systems.
Yeah. Because we are always trying to achieve and put other people first, we put all this pressure on ourselves, which fuels the pain fear cycle, which makes us feel like for example, I've got back pain. I have to fix this back pain, and the pressure to fix the back pain, and then the overthinking of like, what could it be? Could it be this? Could it be that? And all of these self-induced thoughts end up being the exact thing that fuels the the fear, which creates the pain, rather than the actual structural thing that's there to start with. And when I say structural, like for example, mine is L5S1, but it is very normal to have an abnormal MRI scan. But of course, a doctor, surgeon, whoever, they're looking at this scan trying to figure out what's wrong with you. So they see some abnormality and they say, oh, this is what it must be. But actually, like for almost every single adult everywhere has got abnormalities on their MRI scan. It's just like getting grey hair. And then when you see the MRI scan, you panic and go, oh my goodness, L5S1, compression, oh my goodness, this, that, and the other. And you panic even more, which then creates even more pain. So this was one of the things he was noticing. It's the personality types that certain ones are far more likely to have chronic pain. People who are super laid back and relaxed and they're like, yeah, whatever, this will fix itself. Well, the body does fix itself. And so in those people, they're fine. The other thing was that he noticed was certain stuff to do with the past. So repressed anger, rage, years and years of being a people pleaser, and you've kind of pushed all this down, regret, shame, these types of emotions, because it is not okay to show these emotions. Obviously, we know it is okay, but like people who keep everything bottled up for years and years, it was literally the body was trying to say something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's super interesting, and I'm gonna turn the mirror on myself here, because what you've done is just sparked something in my own head around. You've described a lot of my personality traits in these things, which is maybe another reason why I was so intrigued as to what you had to say on the subject matter. But part of that people pleasing and I suppose societal pressure of, I'm quite an emotional guy. I do lead with my emotions now, but for a long, long time, never ever used to do that. And actually, what you're saying there is that actually by suppressing that down, from a pain perspective, a pain receptor perspective, I have done myself no favors in suppressing my own natural reaction to something.
Yeah, exactly. I have a funny story. I had a client. It's not funny, actually. I shouldn't say the word funny. You'll see what I mean. You'll see what I mean. So he had back pain. I work with all different types of pain and all different types of symptoms, but this particular guy had back pain. When he was driving to work, he had really bad back in the car. But when he's driving home from work, he would have no pain. So, I mean, that just says it all, right? Like, clearly there was some kind of repressed emotion. Like, I am driving towards a workplace that I don't want to be in. I don't like my boss, or I don't like my job, or I feel trapped. I feel trapped is a really big one, right? And but it's not, maybe like he didn't feel he could express that because he needs to make the job work, because he needs the job to support his family. So he's kind of like trapped in this thing. So rather than even admit it to himself that he's not okay, we'll have the back pain instead.
Yeah, God. Which is just demonstrating that this is all rooted within psychology in the end, or within neurological patternings, whatever the phraseology is. You've probably got a better way of describing that than I have. But let's carry on with your journey, because obviously the book was the start. But as you said, at that point, you have moved way past that now in terms of your own understanding, and obviously how that can help and affect others at the same time.
Yeah. So when I discovered the book, something clicked in my head. I was like, I'm in control now. I can do this. I can fix this. And just purely by chance, I just got trained as a Gallup strengths coach. In the last week, I was in Dubai before we moved to Sri Lanka. And Gallup Strengths is a personality profiling tool. And so I thought, right, that's it. Let's have a look at my personality and see how am I using these strengths to help me, and where might I be using these strengths to that's not helping me? Maybe they're in overdrive and I'm killing myself. So for example, I have the strength futuristic, and I was using it in a very, very bad way. I was predicting a future in a wheelchair. I was Googling how do you look after children when you are in a wheelchair, and I was using this futuristic in a really, really self-sabotaging way, thinking I was being really proactive. But now I can see I was just laying the foundations for more fear in my brain. And so I flipped it. As soon as I realized I flipped it, and I thought, right, futuristic needs to be used for something else. And I started imagining a life with no pain. And I started imagining, if I can get rid of my pain, I will help other people. And I started documenting everything step by step that I did, so that one day I had this little magic book to help other people. And it just moved my focus away from the negative onto the positive. So that was a big thing. And I went through all my strengths and realized, that I was using almost all of them in a self-sabotaging way. And I started flipping them. Even though I was in absolute agony and I wasn't working, I started volunteering at my son's baby school, what you call it, nursery. And then I started realizing I had no pain at all between 8:30 and 12, or whatever the hours were that I was at the school. And for me, that's evidence. Like, if I can turn the pain on and off depending on where I am, because nothing changed other than I was being of service to all these little kids. So I wasn't thinking about me. I wasn't in the pain fear cycle. So then I just started gathering more and more evidence to prove to my brain that it was my brain creating the false signal as opposed to real structural damage. And over time, the new neural pathways of no pain started to get stronger and stronger and stronger, until I literally remember going through a whole day and going, pain-free day. Had a pain-free day.
Running a hospitality business means juggling endless payments from suppliers to staff, all while keeping cash flow in check. That's where Apron helps. With Apron Bill Pay, you can manage every supplier payment in one place, approve and schedule bills, and think automatically with Xero or QuickBooks. And with the Apron card, your team can spend easily while you stay in control and earn rewards on every purchase. Learn more at getapron.com.
5-star hospitality means having the right people in the right place at the right time, and that's exactly where RotaCloud can help. RotaCloud is the online platform that makes planning rotas, recording attendance, and managing annual leave easy. Its simple, drag-and-drop interface lets you create and share rotas with your team in minutes, while our built-in budgeting tools mean you'll know exactly how much you're spending on staffing before sending the rota out. RotaCloud also makes life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request time off, and pick up extra shifts, all through the RotaCloud mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be.
That's actually remarkable. I mean, a lot of people might listen to that and go, it's miraculous that, that's been done through effectively mindset changes and just your own thinking differently from how you were thinking before. It's not been done through injections, it's not been done through osteopath, it's not been done through surgery or anything like that. But I suppose I made a note there as you were talking there about, I think we all probably know that thinking more positively versus thinking negatively is the right thing to do in the vast majority of cases if you want to progress your life forward. But how do you, it's not just as easy as switching it on, I suppose, is what I'm trying to get at. How do you go from that kind of trained method that you had before about, projecting the future that doesn't look that great into actually, because I would imagine it's not just one day to the next perfect, you've just got to, I suppose, just make a step.
Yeah. See, now I'm actually trained as a pain reprocessing therapist. So when I'm now working with clients to do basically the same as what I did, I would encourage them to have an evidence log. So, for example, you would start to notice when I am with my, let's say, mother-in-law, I get migraines. But when I'm away from her, they vanish. Do you see what I mean? So you start looking for evidence of the fact that your brain is able to turn the symptoms on and off. A good example I have of myself again is I hate numbers. Like, I literally hate numbers. So every year I'd have to prepare the budget for 2 hotels, and I hated it so much. Like, my whole body was going, don't go to work today because you're going to have to do something that you're not good at. Everyone's going to look at you. You're going to get judged. You're going to lose your job. You're going to get fired. Everyone's going to know about it. And as we would get closer and closer to the budget presentations, I was getting in more and more and more pain. It was insane. And at the time, I didn't realize, because my brain is obviously going, because I've been conditioned to think this. It's because I sit in an office chair for longer at budget time. Yeah. Well, no, of course it's not. It's because I'm a HR director who loves people, and I went into the service industry for the people and the development and this type of thing. And suddenly I'm doing something that's just not me. And so having that, starting to notice, and like, even just anybody listening to this now can't unhear what we've just said, right? So they'll be with a certain person or in a certain situation, and they'll notice, oh gosh, the pain's way worse today. Why? Think emotionally. What's going on? Why today? Do you see what I mean? So always think emotionally. And then you start to get a blueprint of like, okay, so these are the things that trigger me. And then from there, we can start breaking the pain fear cycle by learning techniques to regulate your nervous system. Sometimes it's literally as simple as like, stop it, pain, go away. Some people literally are book cures. I've had people listen to podcasts where I've been on the podcast and they've contacted me and gone, I've got rid of my back pain. Just from understanding they don't need to worry about it. There's nothing wrong with them other than they can turn off the pain signal.
Right. Wow. I love this. I absolutely love this. This is you're absolutely in my wheelhouse of just like, I don't even know the word. I'm captivated by the concept because I think for maybe I'm speaking too much for other people here in my thinking, but my feeling is that the vast majority of us just don't know this stuff. That we just accept that pain happens because, as maybe you did a dodgy dance move once and you put something out, and then that's led to something else and something else and something else and so on. And you just think, and the other one that I'd love to make comedy about at the moment is the getting old principle of, things don't work quite as well as they used to. And I suppose it's the same principle of, if you go into your mind with that stuff, you're almost encouraging your brain to go, oh, okay, you're talking about getting pain as you get older. Well, here's some more for you then.
Yeah. I'll give you a counter argument on this one. I've got a client who came to me at 76 with foot pain, and she'd had foot pain for years and years and years. She got rid of the foot pain, and last week she has just finished a 6-week run of a dance show in New York.
Fantastic.
6 weeks, 76, 6 weeks dancing.
Yeah, there's an aspiration right there.
Yeah, I've had quite a number of clients who are in their 70s. A lady with arthritis came to me with hip pain, and she loves to dance, can't dance anymore. 6 weeks later, she's dancing again. So being old does not equal being in pain, because pain is created always in the brain, never in the actual body part.
Right. That's really interesting, and actually leans into something else that we spoke about off microphone before, around the sort of general perceptions around the physical elements of some of the jobs in hospitality leading to pain. And, if we think about that from a practical perspective, we're talking about, I don't know, chefs who are standing on their feet over a bench all day, chopping stuff and doing whatever they do, waiters who are on their feet all day, serving people, bartenders, you can't, the list is very, very long. And I think there's probably, I was only talking to somebody about this yesterday in anticipation of our chat today, and they were saying, oh yeah, I can imagine a chat about pain in hospitality is really interesting, because there'll be all these different jobs that have physical problems attached to, everything that I've just said. But what you're actually saying is that the reality of that is that might not be true, what we all believe.
Yes, definitely. So we were designed to be on our feet. We're literally designed to be on our feet. So a chef that's on his feet all day is doing probably more accurately what a human should be doing, as opposed to someone sitting in an office chair, right? But because we say over and over again, because I have been on my feet all day, therefore I have pain, you're conditioning people to think that. In the same way, I have been sitting in an office chair all day, therefore that's why I have neck pain. No, that's not how it works. And once, let's say a chef does have, I don't know, what pain would a chef have? Leg pain, standing up, or I don't know,
back,
whatever.
I suppose. Yeah.
Once you've felt it once, the next day you feel it again, and it's like, oh no. And every time you feel it, it's like, oh no. And the pain fear signal gets louder and louder. And the more you fear it, the worse the pain gets. And so it's a self-perpetuating thing. And then maybe you live with someone that's like, oh, how's your back? And just hearing how's your back, it feels so good when someone gives you sympathy. So you're like, oh, I've been better. And it feels great, because you're getting this attention and this sympathy, and then it just keeps coming because you've learned to have pain. In the same way we learn to ride a bike, that neural pathway in your brain's established. Pain is exactly the same because it's established. I have another hospitality example. I was just thinking about it as you were talking there. We hired, for one of our hotels, we hired a hostess for our rooftop bar, and we never used an agency ever, apart from this one position. We hired several hostesses all at the same time because it was a new opening of a bar. And this agency had promised them the job was something that it wasn't. They thought they would be standing on a hostess desk and that was it. They didn't have to do anything else. But the reality was they needed to help set the restaurant up and put the candles out and everything. And she was so disappointed when she started working with us, and so disengaged. She hated the job. All her face came out in a big rash. So it was so bad, the rash. And then eventually, she stuck with the job for a while, but eventually she quit. And I saw her just like a few weeks later in another hotel working as a hostess. It was more of a pure hostess job, what she thought she was signing up for with us. Her skin was perfect.
Yeah.
It was just because she hated the job.
Yeah, but I reckon we could probably all recount people that we know from our lives in hospitality or any sector, to be fair, whereby you've seen somebody who's in a job that is, I don't know, stressing them out, or they're just unhappy or whatever, and they don't look especially well, or they don't look like themselves in inverted commas, and then they leave there, and 6 months later you see them again, and you go, wow, you look super healthy. So what you're actually saying is that the that has a massive impact on, like, not just the pain element, but actually just the general health of the individual.
Oh, yes, definitely, 100%. So your brain gives you an alarm signal when it thinks you're under threat. So, it's our brain's designed to look out for tigers and snakes and things from millions of years ago. But there are no tigers and snakes anymore, but we still have that old fashioned brain that's never been upgraded. And it's searching for threats. Now it will only find social threats, pretty much. There's very few physical threats. And a social threat would be a boss that never recognizes you, or unrealistic expectations, goals wise, or the ongoing fear that you might lose your job. This is a social threat, and so your brain goes, this is a dangerous situation, and it gives this alarm. And in some people it's migraines, in some people back pain, skin rash, IBS. A lot of people with IBS, that's actually more to do with the stress they're under. So,
Goodness.
yeah.
Goodness. God, we're
Yes.
fixing the world today.
But it's interesting though, Phil, because if I had listened to this podcast when I had back pain, I would have been sitting there thinking, yeah, right, I've seen it on an MRI scan. I know how much pain I'm in. There is no way that there's no way that my brain could be causing this pain. I wouldn't believe it. I wasn't ready to hear it. And I wish actually that I'd at least had a chance to hear it, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have believed it because the pain was so excruciating. So it's worth saying here that the smarter the person, this is what I've noticed from clients I've worked with, the smarter the person, the worse the pain. Because you're smart, your brain's going to create pain that's so incredibly believable that it will cripple you, right? And if you ignore it, it will make a louder pain signal. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that
just wanted to
now,
say that.
now I just wanted to make a joke about me being the smartest person that I know because I'm in so much pain all the time. But no, it's endlessly fascinating though, and I take your point around the sort of the general conditioning of human belief systems, etc., in terms of what we come to expect as normal. It takes something generally quite large for us to be able to step outside of that for a moment and really understand that actually it's that realization, right? That whatever this treatment plan that I'm on is not working. You hit the rock bottom element with that, whereby you wanted to have your back chopped off. That's the catalyst to stepping outside of the regular way of doing things, I guess. So for anybody who's listening to this who is thinking to themselves, wow, this stuff kind of sounds a little bit woo-woo, is it really, is there any truth in all of this? I mean, you're an actual walking case in point, notwithstanding all of the clients that you now kind of work with as well in terms of helping them get past. You gave me a monumental amount of stuff to contemplate when we had our call on the back of that post I put out. And this is the thing, is that, I have a massive belief that none of us really know anything about anything. So if somebody comes along and gives you an opportunity to think about something a little bit differently that might help, then surely it's got to be worth your time to at least pursue it and see where it can take you.
Yeah, I love that. I heard like a statement once. It said the smartest people of the future are the people that have the ability to learn, unlearn, and then relearn.
Yeah.
So everything you think you know about pain, you need to be able to put it down, unlearn it, and then look at the new science and research and start and question it. And the other thing is, you could say, well, why is this not in the NHS or mainstream medicine? It takes 20 years from when the science and research comes out to get it filtered all the way down to the front line through medical school and then actually start delivering it. And of course, there is no money in this at all, is there? Like
No.
if like I fixed my back pain, I no longer go physio, osteopath, I no longer buy medication, I no longer buy the back braces, the bedding and this, that, and the other. Like I don't need any of that stuff. So there's no money to be made globally in this. And so that's why there's very little research, money being put into the research. And if you want to find it, you can absolutely find it, but you need to know where to look.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not even going to get into the discussion about money funneling and why. No, not today, Phil. Not today. Yeah. Is there for anyone out there who's listening to this going, yeah, do you know what? I need to pursue a different method of doing what I'm doing at the moment. Is just not working. Where would be a really entry level, easy place for them to start in terms of understanding more about this, learning more about what we've spoken about today, in order to just take that first step?
Yeah, I have a quiz or like a self-assessment on my website called "Is Your Pain Curable?" and it takes you through questions. Do you have these personality types? Did any of these things happen to you in the past? Does this happen to your symptoms? And it takes about 5 minutes. I think you've been through it, haven't you?
I have been through it, yes.
It takes about 5 minutes to do, maybe. And it's just got thought-provoking questions to make you, it's a self-diagnosis thing. You need to see, is this for me or not? And then from there, I would hope that you have an idea. And then I would look up pain reprocessing therapy is the modality I'm trained in. We call it neural, there's many different names for it. We tend to call it neural pathway pain, but ultimately I just wish there was a Netflix program on it, and then I could say, go and watch this Netflix program, but we're not there yet.
Well,
but I'm happy to jump on a call, with anyone.
Yeah, the thing about this for me is that without you commenting on my LinkedIn post, I would be none the wiser about everything that you've discussed. I'm fascinated by what you're saying because really I'm fascinated by the power of the brain. And I'm late to the party with that. All through my 20s and 30s, just kind of head down, crack on. It wasn't, I kind of woke up in my 40s through health diagnoses, basically. And as a result of that, I'm so fascinated now around what this brain can do for us in positive and negative terms. And you need to do the work. There's no way past, you can't arrive at this stuff by accident and just hope that everything is going to be great just by a slight change of perception of something. You do have to do the internal work in terms of switching the brain back into the stuff that will ignite you / heal you / just make your life better. And we don't talk enough about that for me. I just because I've seen it in my own journey as well, so I know that it can take a powerful effect and a change of direction. So from my perspective, go and hunt out a Netflix executive. In fact, there's somebody that I know, and I'm thinking to myself, I wonder, because I think the world's ready to hear this. I absolutely think the world is ready to hear this because they're bored of being in pain, probably bored of the general way of the world. It seems at the moment there's a lot of doom and gloom, which probably just ignites the pain even further, based on what we've been discussing today. So I feel like get that documentary done.
Let's see, 2026.
Yeah, indeed. Well, you're a futurist, you see. You're already there. You've gone through.
Yeah. It's true. It's interesting you say people are bored of being in pain. I think people just get used to being in pain. It's just a new way of being. They're frustrated, and I think under all of it, there's a real underlying fear of like, if I'm like this now, what will I be like in 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now? There's fear for sure in most people I start with. But it's really funny because you're talking to me like I'm a unicorn, like I'm the only person doing this, and it's in my world it's massive. I know loads of doctors trained in this. I know loads of people that do this, and I see success stories all the time, like loads and loads and loads. So this is not a new thing. It's a new thing, but it's not an unusual thing. It's not like, and hopefully one day it will be mainstream, but let's see. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Absolutely. Are we leaving anything out there to be discussed? Have we covered the salient points, or is there something else that you think would be gold?
I think we have covered the main points, and I think from a hospitality point of view, I'm thinking like there's hotels with hundreds of staff, loads of which 1 in 5 have chronic pain, right? And that's what we know. There'll be loads of people that have other conditions. Just giving them a webinar or the education is enough sometimes to break the pain fear cycle. So if anyone is interested, I do like a 60 or 90 minute workshops on this, where you can see the penny dropping with people, and they're like, oh, that's why that happens to me. And then they're better. You don't necessarily need to spend weeks and weeks coaching. It's a quick thing, the education piece. So
yeah, great. And so how do people get in touch with you? What's the best method for them to do that? I'll put it in the show notes as well, of course.
Well, luckily, I am the only person in the world with the name Gemma McFall. So I've got Instagram, LinkedIn, my email address, everything is Gemma McFall. So you can find me on all the usual socials, and my email address is gemma@gemmamcfall.com. So yeah, please reach out for sure.
Fantastic. Look, I am so grateful for you coming on the show and spending some time. It's, as I said at the beginning, it's something a little bit different from what we would normally do, but I'm just completely captivated by what you do and the impact that can have on people. So for me, I just had to take the opportunity to tell the world, or at least the small pocket of the world that listens to this podcast. And massively grateful, and would very much like to keep in contact, and anything I can do to help, I'll be glad to do so.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me, Phil.
Thank you. Take care. And there we have it. Gemma with one of the most eye-opening conversations we've ever had on the show, demonstrating that the real problem may not be your pain, it's your brain trying to be too clever. We will, of course, be back next week with another awesome journey from hospitality, so have yourselves a cracking week, and I'll see you then.